This is Rebecca, the Steampunk Planner. I'm recording this for the third time. We are going to be doing a study in walnut. I have done some research. I have found colors that I want to use in this study. We're going to get started, but first off, I want to put a shout out right now to Roberta Laidman. Thank you so much for the request. I am happy to do this. You actually opened a bag, box, can of worms in this one because I wanted this video to be a little bit more than just throwing some ink on a card or on paper or something like that. So I wanted to actually do a little bit of research, and as I stated, do a little bit of painting, a little bit of figuring out. I have learned quite a bit. Let's get started. Now, I am losing the light for this evening, and I may pick this up tomorrow, but let's see if we can get as far as we can. What prompted this is Roberta asked if I could compare Sayongayo to Walnut by Noodlers. I did the sampling card here at that time when I did that review, as well as in reviewing other people's thoughts on Sayongayo. I was under the knowledge that this was a brown. Even this label on the box makes me think brown. Now, a little background on the Iroshizuku series. Iro meaning coloring, Shizuku meaning droplet. Iroshizuku's plan for their ink lines are geared around the land, sea, air, atmosphere, their natural living. So all of their inks have a not only a coloring, but a name geared to it. So Sayongayo stands for spring dawn. And I really was confused with that because spring dawn to me is not brown. Fall, maybe, leaves, maybe, but spring dawn, no. And it wasn't until I sampled this and let it dry that I realized, oh my gosh, this is purple. This is almost like an eggplant purple. If you look at a sunrise or especially a sunset, you're going to notice this type of coloring in the darker areas at the top of your sunset or sunrise, where it will either lean towards a purple navy or like a purple orange, purple brown. And that's definitely what this is. So it is not brown. It is a matte. And the color that Roberta asked me to compare it to is walnut. All right, here's where the can of worms opened. I did my research on Noodler's ink. To be honest with you, I own a few bottles that sit in the back of the drawer. I own the Southwest Sunset Nightshade, which was my introduction to Noodlers. And then I did buy what I thought the ink's name was Feathers, but it actually is a no feathering formula of black. I do not have walnut. So I actually ordered a sample, and I'd like to say I got a good sample, but I didn't. That's all I got. And believe me, this didn't take very much. In looking up about Noodlers, they have classifications of their ink formulas that I've never heard of. I've heard of waterproof, water-soluble, calligraphy, indelible, India ink, artist ink, archival, document, and lightfast. As an artist, I always look for lightfast. But what I did not expect to see when I went researching on Noodlers is I found out that they actually have a bulletproof, a UV, and a forge proof. Right. So walnut is a forge proof. For them, the classification of forge proof is once this dries, it is not coming off. You can't use alcohols. You can't use detergents. You can't use OxyClean, bleach, nothing. Once this dries, it's there. Don't spill it. When I first sampled walnut, I actually considered it I wasn't too impressed. Yes, I've got it on each of these papers, but I still wasn't too impressed, even though I had a lot of this beautiful shading. Wasn't impressed until I researched it. I only figured, oh, I'll get this if I run out of Pelican, which I know I'm not going to because I don't like my Pelican 4001 Brilliant Brown. It's actually going to go with me to the DC pin show to put on the giveaway desk because I'm tired of it taking up room in my drawer. I have a feeling I'm going to be getting this one because not only is this considered a brown, and it is a matte brown, but this is leaning towards a terracotta brown. So I'm really impressed with this. And Roberta, thank you for bringing this to my attention. Though I am going to tell you, it is not in the brown family as Sayongayo. I still would say, even though it is a purple, it does lean to the brown, which is what gives it that eggplant type of a look. But let me go on because I have chosen others in these two families. So I'm going to set these two here. And Yamaguri is another beautiful one. And it kind of leans towards almost like a raw umber, but it has that purple tendencies. What gives it a purple tendencies? First off, what makes brown? Brown is the even amounts of our primary colors, yellow, blue, and red. When brown changes, it means the yellow or the blue or the red has been increased in some levels. So when you get into umber colors, raw umber, brown umber, you're going to have more of an increase of yellow with a secondary of blue. With this one has an increase of the yellow, but the secondary is red. Whereas with Sayongayo, the primary on here is red. It does have some greenish tendency, which is going to be the secondary, which is the blue that's reacting with the yellow. Blue is the largest color molecule. Yellow is the smallest. So, yep, red's there in between. So that one is going to go towards Sayongayo. I have Tsuku Shai. All right, now this one also has that blue shimmer in there. It is a matte, but because of the red is prominent, but the yellow and blue are almost even to give that green shimmer, this still, even on the other swatch papers, leans more towards walnut. And going with different companies, I have Fountain Pen Revolution and their cinnamon. And the only problem I have with this color is it reminds me of Big Bang Theory and the fact that Raj's dog's name was Cinnamon, and all I hear is Wallowitz calling for Cinnamon in Raj's voice. Yeah, sorry, that was a squirrel. Anyway, so cinnamon. This one has a higher content of yellow. Here you can't see it as much because the shading is beautiful. But if I shift this card just enough, you're going to see green in here. So that means to me, the secondary color is blue. So this is going to lean more towards the middle of the two colors. Yeah, I didn't expect that one, did you? So the last color I am going to talk about and swatch with you is the Robert Oster Signature Ink from the collaboration with the Coffee Monster Co. This is one of two inks, and this one is called, of course, Coffee Monster. It is supposed to represent dark roast coffee. Now, I'm going to assume she uses a lot of cream in her dark roast because this really changes a lot in the light, and It leans yellow on some papers, red on the other, which to me tells me the primary color is red, secondary is yellow, and because it does have some of that shimmer, the blue is elevated, but not that much. So this one is definitely going to go into the walnut, but we are going to test all that out. I will tell you, I have been, as I stated, I did this 2 other times. So I've done a testing over here, bringing in the cinnamon, coffee monsters, Sayongayo, and all of the colors, but I had received the first day I filmed this, the forgotten iced coffee, and yeah, it didn't go into this color family whatsoever. Next, I did a video on this one, and I actually added the Yamaguri and the Diamine Terracotta, which I'm going to go ahead and add in when I sample this for this video. But there is one thing I wanted to show you for each of these cards. I have done this on the Tomoe River paper on cardstock so that I can at least file it in my box. Both of them have been done that way. But let me show you the back. Now, this color, the Fountain Pen Revolution Cinnamon, definitely bled through. Now, these are splotches. So I prefer to have a splotch for understanding the color because it will give me more of a breakdown of what is in the color. You can see here on the Takasushi, we'll see if I said that right, that you can see more blue and purple, which is interesting because on the cardstock, it leaned more on a brown umber. So you saw more yellow on that one. Where with the Yamaguri, you're also getting a purple green. So doing different papers, especially ones that you really enjoy working with, is going to be the focus. I can see that my Diamine did bleed through the Tomoe River. The Sayongayo, this is interesting because it bled through with yellow primary with red as a secondary. Very interesting. Even the walnut came through with the yellow as primary. It is a finer molecule, so that can be the reason why it is bleeding through easier. Over here, these are actual swatches. So we're going to flip over, and you can see here that the walnut, and this one is the same to Suku Shai. I'm going to give it a different name each time I say it. Each of them have come and bled through with a yellow, with a red as secondary. The others just shadowed. So it gives you an idea, and you can see that every single one of them, the writing did not bleed through. It's only when I swatched, which means the heavier amount of ink that's on the paper that you choose can easily bleed. You can see on the back, this is a cardstock, 100 GSM, sorry. And you can see the yellow red bled through. But if I go over to my Sayongayo, I've been doing my Zentangles on the backs of these with the color. And you can see there is no bleed through, but you can also see how when this is darker, how it leans more eggplant brown, and then lighter, it's more of a gray purple. I love this. I've actually put it in my Leonardo Momento Magico, and I'm enjoying using it in there. If I do get the walnut, which it'll probably be at the DC Pen Show, it's going to go into my honeycomb. So one other thing before we swatch, I want to show you is I have swatched over here the walnut, the coffee monster, the Tasuku Shai, and the Sayongayo. I also used in here the Wearing Yule, the Star Child, the Atramentis Urban Gray, the Atramentis Black, and the Esterbrook Forgotten Iced Coffee. I do not have a brown. The closest to that is the sepia that I have in the De Atramentis. So I am still looking for a really good document brown. So I'm looking forward to trying Noodlers. But you can see I am in the Dominant Industry book, Log of Elixir. And this is the first set of pages. And I really enjoyed bringing all of this together. I made sure that I had some cool colors to offset the warm colors of these inks. I have gone ahead and set up and made this more of a study in brown today with quite a few selection. So we're going to start right now with the walnut sampling. 3 of these I just have samples on because I have so many browns, and it wasn't until also I started this whole journey that I realized that certain companies I like their browns. Other companies, not a fan, I guess, because I'm not seeing that I'm gearing or looking towards them. It's early, even my pen is fighting with me. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to sample out walnut pretty far, but we're just going to do smaller samples because I really want to explain to you why I'm going to this extent. And the only way to do that is to break them down, and I don't want to take forever doing that. So there's walnut. So next what I'm going to do is go into, I have broke these down into cool colors and warm colors. Most browns will classify into the warm colors. So let's go ahead. I'm going to start with the warms and just work my way around, mainly in the fact that a lot of these colors I have do lend more towards the warm, which surprised me. All right, and sorry about that. I forgot to plug my microphone in, so the volume on that portion of swatching walnuts is a little off. But we're going to go into the Fountain Pen Revolution, and this is cinnamon. Right off, you can see with cinnamon that when you're writing with it, how yellow it can seem. But honestly, it's all in the drawing of this that we really want to take a look. All right, there's that one. Next, we have terracotta. Terracotta came from the 50th anniversary. It was actually the first brown red that I purchased intentionally. I love the color of terracotta. The interesting thing is most colors that are called terracotta really are not terracotta. Robert Oster Cafe Crema. I did jump the Coffee Monster. I'll grab that in a second. And you can already see how yellow. You can also see I am not trying to build any shading, shadowing, or anything like that other than what happens naturally when using my Kakimori Nib combination. I have the Coffee Monster, and we are going to get that in here next. Now with this, we're not going to be talking about ink flow or shadowing, shading, fading, nothing like that. That's not what's going on today. I did speak earlier on the fact of the different classifications that Noodler's ink have. The walnut is a forge proof to my surprise. And so far, everything that I have swatched is water soluble. So this is Jacques Herbin and Ledeli. There are some inks that I did not pull, mainly because this would just be completely warm ink, and I want it to give you more of a diversity. I have quite a few in Ferris Wheel Press. I also have quite a few with a shimmer. I think bringing in shimmers will cloud the judgment on this because Majority of the inks are not shimmered. So Yamaguri, right off, Yamaguri definitely leans more yellow, but in other sampling, it has lent more purple. So that's why I want to see these when I'm using them and show them to you when I'm sampling them and when they're dry. Tasuka Shy goes down very red, but then as you can see right now, even it's starting to change into a purple. At home, if you're using any of these colors and you're going, that's not what mine looks like, remember they will make a batch, send it out, and then make another batch. Not all the inks are going to be exactly alike. And yes, I do shake my inks. That's not the issue. They get as close as they can, even if they're using the same formula. Sometimes it will just mix differently for everyone. And this one you can immediately see how this one is turning right off the bat, that beautiful eggplant. So let's take a closer look, shift everything out of the way so that we can get a good light on this. When swatching in this way with using the Kakimori nib, it does not take the ink very long to dry, which is great because we can get right into this and take a look not only at the surface but also underneath. So walnut, let's start there. You can see how red the walnut is. It actually leans more to me a terracotta, but also most definitely a brown. When you see it, let me grab that card, bringing them up next to each other. I want to show you the difference between just a basic line swatch and a splat, especially depending on how you are going to be using this ink. So you can see it's more of an even color. It does have a little bit of the shadowing, but here you can see how much orange and red, how much the red yellow actually comes into play. It's not until it's shadowing that you see the full mixture with the blue that's in it. It hasn't separated. So I think this is very much more of a fall type of brown for me. It's your choice on how you want or when you want to use your inks. I have selection because I have so many browns. It's because I want to use specific colorings for specific times. Now we're going to look in at Fountain Pen Revolution. And here, the interesting thing, I'm going to grab the swatch. Look at that. In the splat, it shows me more terracotta, a lighter version, but here in the dip sampling with my Kakimori, it gives me more yellow. So even with the shaking of the ink and the different swatching, you're going to get different effects. I put this over here because every time I have used it, it has gone more terracotta. But look at what it's doing to me. This is both the Tama River paper. You never know exactly how your ink is going to react every single time, because even here is the diamine terracotta. And yes, it is definitely terracotta. You can see the blue-yellow effects in here because of the yellow is secondary, blue is tertiary, and they mix when it is heavily concentrated. But over here you can see there is no blue-green or blue-yellow mixture giving a green. It is really all red, even though it is a blue-green-red mixture. Over here, let's get to Coffee Monster on my swatches. And here's Coffee Monster. I do want to get this one in the light because you can see this is a higher concentration of yellow And then next would be the blue and then the red. And it is shown here in that glistening of green. Again, these are all matte. But if you look at Coffee Monster here, you can see that blue-green edging is on the side. But this is definitely a yellow-brown. It's supposed to represent a dark roast coffee. But to me, that is a dark roast coffee with a lot of cream. And I think my father-in-law would agree because he always tells me my coffee is not dark enough. So this one I haven't swatched yet, so I don't have a splat to show you, but Cafe Crema, you can see this one is definitely a strong yellow presence in this brown. And I definitely agree with it being a cream coffee. It is beautiful. And if you're wanting something more soft, like for the spring or even starting in fall, or if you want to come out of the deep, dark colors of fall and go into winter with a color, this one would be excellent for that. And then the Jacques Herbin Leaded, I love because this one leans more of a raw umber type of a look. I'm going to use these in comparing to each other. This one definitely also has a strong yellow primary, where this one has a red secondary. This one has a blue secondary, and that is what's giving it that raw umber look, where the red is more muted, where in here, because red is a secondary, it's what gives us that crema look for that brown. And this is one that I'm definitely going to be picking up when I get to the show, if I can wait that long. So, Irisuzuku Yamaguri. And I think I did do a swatch of that one. Let me see. Yes, I did. I did a splat. So we're going to turn it sideways. So here are my splats for Yamaguri and Tsuka Shy. And I want to get these more in the light here so that you can see Tsuka Shy, the center is very purple, and which means red is primary. But you can see that the yellow and blue are secondary together because we're getting that green. When the Tsuka Shy fades out, you can see here that it really softens into still that purple. But the blue and yellow really accent it. And then here, the Yamaguri, it has a very strong, almost even amount of all of the colors. Red is still primary, but you can see how deep that is. So if we bring up the swatching for each, here you can see the Tsuka Shy has leaned more umber here. It's really interesting how it can change just in the tool that you're using. You can see Yamaguri here, it is more of a raw umber type, which means the blue is affecting it more. I just love this about, as an artist, I love this about ink. It is amazing and it can do so much for you. Sayungai. Here it's showing that it's a purple, which we all know it is, even though I was mistaken in this completely. But here, just like in our sampling for the Tsuka Shy, the Sayungayo is centered on purple, which means the red is prominent, and then the yellow-blue has taken this secondary together. It fades off more brown looking here. But when I brought up the Zentangle for it, it really showed more purple. And here, that is brown. It is crazy how, I'm just going to keep saying it, how just depending on the tool that you are using, how everything can change. Thank you for joining me. I hope you don't mind all of the different angles that I went. Maybe this should have been the video to begin with. I don't know. See you in the next one.